All right, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and continue with our notes on Beowulf with analyzing Old English poetry. So there are a few literary devices that we're going to learn with Beowulf, and the first is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words. This device helps unify the lines. So for example, in his splendor he set the sun and the moon. Notice there's a repetition of the and s sounds within the sentence. It doesn't mean that the same words are repeated, rather that the consonant sound in the beginning is repeated. These can be slightly difficult to identify at times, but they're really important and help us in helping to establish the poem's rhythm. The poem's strong rhythm is created also by 4 stresses, or I should say beats, not eats, in many lines. So there's this thing in Shakespeare's literature called iambic pentameter, and essentially that means there are several beats or hard stresses in a line with unstressed syllables, which in this case, the stressed syllables are highlighted in green. And pentameter means there are 5 beats per line, which in this example there's 1, 2, 3, only 4, which is quattrometer. But you don't need to know the name, you just need to be able to identify the hard beats. So, sometimes at pagan shrines they bowed. If you read this normally, sometimes at pagan shrines they bowed, you can feel the sort of jump. And it's this jump, or this beat, that helps create a rhythm. And that's really important because, remember, these epics were not written down. Beowulf in particular wasn't written down for hundreds of years. And so to make it easier to remember, because it's a lot of lines, we're only reading a small excerpt and it's still going to take us 2 days. To remember all of the lines and words, they made it like a song, which is where we get the inspiration for our music today. Just think about the music you listen to. Things with songs with a heavier beat or a better beat are the ones that attract us the most, because even if you don't understand the words, you can, kind of bounce around with the music. You like the sound of it. Same with poetry. The second literary device we're looking at is caesura. A caesura is a pause that divides the line, with each part having 2 stresses. Usually, at least 1 stressed syllable in the first part alliterates with a stressed syllable in the second part. So when he heard about Grendel, Higlac's thane. So notice there's a space in these lines, and what that does, it just creates a pause. Was on home ground over Geatland. Was on home ground over Geatland. So you can hear the stresses in this also. So 2 stresses before, 2 after. Make sure you're taking effective notes on these devices because you will be tested on them later. The last literary device we're going to look at are kennings. Kennings kenning is a metaphorical compound word or phrase that substitutes a simple noun. So you do this a lot, I'm sure. You come up with kennings on your own without thinking about it. But look at this example. So the kenning Higlac's trusty retainer is used in place of the name Beowulf. Or the dread of the land is used in place of the name Grendel. So you might use kennings to rename teachers if you don't really like them, you want to talk in code. Like the grumpy one, for example. So it's a metaphorical compound. It typically says something about the person. So Higelac's trusty retainer. Trusty tells us something about that person. Retainer also does. What is a retainer? They keep something, or a protector. So a trustworthy protector. So in kennings, we can find details about the person within the name. We will practice kennings prior to reading Beowulf. They can be kind of fun. Now, there are a few vocabulary words that you need to know before we start reading. So instead of having you do research on them for now, I've gone ahead and given you the definitions. So make sure that you have each of these in your notes, because you will need them as we read. They'll help you understand, but we'll do an activity with these as well. So pause the video and take down those vocabulary words. Now, that's the end of the notes for now. Please check in to Google Classroom to see what the next steps are for you in your English class. If you have any questions about anything covered in the notes today, please do not hesitate to ask me. I'm happy to help you or answer any questions that you may have. Have a great day.